Hello everybody, welcome to another day and another unboxing. This is the Moto Z2 Play, and you notice this video isn't live, which means this is under embargo, and you're going to be like, wait a minute, I saw a Moto Z2 Play review a few weeks ago. Yes, those were the global units. This is a Verizon device, so it's under embargo for some reason. And it came with a bunch of new exciting things that I have over here in boxes, which we'll unbox right after this. So stay tuned for more. Anyway, let's unbox this Moto Z2 Play. I'm really excited about this phone because I really loved last year's Moto Z Play. All the Moto Zs, but particularly the Moto Z Play. So this one comes in a red box. Last year was a black box. You can see there's a Moto logo, and remember, Lenovo is moving away from the Lenovo branding in the US, although this still has the Lenovo tab on the edge here. So there's like a bunch of stuff down here, hearing aid compatibility, blah, blah, blah. Moto Z2 Play on one side, Verizon LTE Advanced, so this says LTE, and so bunch of barcodes. Now this is a 32 gig version, which means it probably only has 3 gigs of RAM. There is a 4 gig of RAM, 64 gig version of this phone out there. All right, so let's do this. Oh, this is a little hard. There we are. Oh my God. It's this kind of like matte finish, kind of semi-rubbery finish on the cardboard, and so it sticks. This is it right here. Now, ta-da! Moto Z2 Play. There's the barcode again, advanced. So it doesn't look like it's basically the same outside of that, same as the outside of that box. So how does this open? Oh, it pulls out like this. Dun 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 dun. Woohoo! So there's the sleeve, another one, and so here is the phone in its box. Let's peel this up. And the first thing you'll notice is that it's a lot thinner than last year's. And I'll do a side-by-side in a second. Or maybe in another video, I'm not sure yet. Anyway, phone. And here's a little box, probably with a SIM removal tool and some booklets. Oh yeah, look at that. SIM removal tool just floating around in there. Maybe it was actually... oh yeah, probably it was attached to something in here and then it kind of fell out. Anyway, there's some manuals. Moto Z2 Play, meet your phone, important consumer safety information. Ah, there you go. That's where the SIM removal tool was. I'm like, it's kind of unusual to see them kind of like just floating around like this, unattached. So there you go. Interesting that I'm not seeing any Spanish in here. It might be further inside, but hey. Anyway, not very important. Manuals, who cares, right? Nobody reads these things. I think people just throw them out. So there we go. Then, very exciting, there's a new turbocharger charger. As you know, they call their high-speed charging turbocharging. It's actually compatible with the Pixel and the Nexus charging, which is kind of cool. So it's power delivery compatible, I guess, since it's not quick charge compatible. And at least I could be wrong, but last year it was, yeah, it says turbo power, or turbocharger, turbo power. And what's exciting to me about this is that last year's turbo power charger had the cord permanently attached, whereas this one comes with a USB Type A to USB-C, as you can see in here, adapter, which I think is better because then you can use this to charge other things, even though it won't charge at high speed. It's a little more universal, and you get a little more out of your money, I guess, for having this. I think there's nothing else in here. No headset or anything, not surprisingly. Most phones don't come with a headset today. So let's look at the phone real quick. This is it right here. And the first thing you notice compared to last year is that there's a bit of a rim here after the metal, before you get to what I presume is the glass back. Probably as a protection layer, there's a little kind of layer of plastic in between the outside metal and the inside glass, which I think is still glass. It could be plastic, but why have two different plastics here? It doesn't make sense. Here is the mod connector, as you can see, same as last year. Verizon logo, which is new. Last year's Moto Z phones did not have a Verizon logo, even though all of them are Verizon phones, at least the one review units I had. There is obviously a little piece of plastic on top of this with some, you know, instructions. Here's your SIM slot, it says, and then here's your volume rocker and power lock key, it says, and you know, there's a LTE SIM in there already, and it tells you that the on-screen buttons are here, and that this is the fingerprint reader, which is now oval instead of square, very much like the Moto G5 versus the Moto G4, which is kind of cool. And then it says there's USB Type-C under here and a headphone jack, which, as you know, the Moto Z Play had, but none of the other Moto Zs had. So I want to quickly compare this with the Moto Z, simply because the Z Play from last year, simply because it is very similar but very different. So obviously the footprint is going to be the same, since these two phones are Moto Mod compatible. So they have to have the same size and the same connector location and camera pot location. So at first glance you're like, okay, they look very similar. But if I stack them on top of each other, you can immediately notice how much thinner the new phone is. It's 6mm versus 7 or so. Remember, that's still a little thicker than the Moto Z original, which was 5 or so millimeters. But still, we're talking about a thick phone. The only thing is, as you can see, the camera pod here protrudes by at least maybe 3mm versus last year, which was protruding by maybe 2mm. So there's a lot of protrusion in terms of camera bump here, much more profound protrusion than any Moto Z phone before them. I'm going to turn this on and probably peel this label off while I'm at it. Same AMOLED display as last year. Let me see if I can get this off. Are you ready for the sound? Boom! That's a nice sound.
Hello, Moto.
Oh, hello, Moto. I don't find that accent very good. It seems a little weird to me that they would have this fake Asian accent there. But anyway, who am I to judge? There you go. So now you can see the displays are 5.5 inches, 1080p, AMOLED, same as last year. So let's walk through some of the differences real quick. Square versus oval fingerprint reader, as you can see. I don't know if you can see very well, one is black and one is white, but there's the oval versus square, and you can see the microphone, primary microphone, the same location. Camera and sensors are all the same. The difference here is there's a dual color, dual LED flash. I think this one was just, maybe it was dual color, dual LED, but it's hard to tell. So that's an improvement. The camera is f/2.0 instead of f/2.2. 5 megapixels still, the front-facing camera. The earpiece is a little different. It's more of like a hole, whereas this one had the Moto Z last year, Z Play, had a little kind of cover on that rather than the hole. You can see that. In the back, I already mentioned the camera pod differences. So let's talk about these cameras, and let's talk about the guts a little bit. 16 megapixel f/2.0 last year, 13 megapixel f/1.7 this year. So this is the same on paper camera as the Moto G5 Plus, which is very similar phase and contrast autofocus module as in the Galaxy S7 and S7 anyway. But no OIS, right? No OIS on either of these. This one just higher resolution f/2.0. This is a slightly lower resolution, 13 or 12, I can't remember exactly. I think it's 13, f/1.7, which means it's a little faster in light, has a little larger pixels, 1.4 micron versus 1.3 on this guy. Dual color, dual LED flash, that hasn't changed, but that really protrudes quite a bit. The guts. Snapdragon 625 has been upgraded to a Snapdragon 626, which, as you know, is a very power efficient chip. Last year, this was an insanely long battery life phone, the Moto Z Play. And this one, from everything I've read and heard, is close to as good, despite the difference in thickness, which, you guessed it, affects battery life. and battery size. So this has a 3,510 milliamp hour battery. This is a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. So to get that 1 millimeter thinner, they had to remove quite a bit of battery. But at the same time, Qualcomm claims that the 625, which is super efficient, is just as efficient as the 626, which is in this new phone. 3 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage on both. There is a 4 gig of RAM, 64 gig of storage version of this Moto Z2 Play now. I'm not sure we get this in the US, but I know that the unlocked version has it. And yeah, that's it. You got micro SD storage and SIM card slot at the top here. Let me just show you that real quick. As you can see, it's the same layout, same antenna band, same secondary mic, same SIM slot tray, probably slightly different physically, but same layout. Nothing on the left-hand side. Same micro USB and headphone jack at the bottom. And as you can see, the thinness difference, just 1 millimeter makes quite a bit of a difference. And then, of course, you have the power lock key and volume rockers. They're almost in the same spot as last year. And that's it. That's the phone. That's the Moto Z2 Play. And this is the Moto Z Play from last year. So there you have a comparison real quick. And no comparison would be complete if I didn't show you the Moto Z from last year, just the higher end Moto Z and the thickness difference. That's a 5 millimeter versus 6 millimeter, and as you can see, the camera bump is still not as pronounced on the Moto Z from last year. Moto Z on top, Moto Z2 Play on the bottom, and then of course the Z Force from last year, right here, Moto Z Force, much thicker. Thicker even than the Moto Z Play from last year. And there you go. There you have all the comparisons. I've like pulled no stops for you guys. But there is more to unbox. With the new Moto Z line, this is the first of the probably 2 or 3 Moto Z2s we're going to see this year. The Play, there's probably going to be a Moto Z2 regular and maybe a Moto Z2 Force for Verizon. With those new phones come... clearly, obviously, I don't know why the accelerometer is so sensitive, come some new mods. So here are the 2 new mods, and I am going to be reviewing these, unboxing these, and showing them to you in another video. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, this is it, the unboxing of the Moto Z2 Play. Let's stack them all up. In terms of size, so we can see them. So the Moto Z is the thinnest. Then we've got the Moto Z2 Play. Then we've got the Moto Z Play from last year. And then we've got the Moto Z Force from last year. And that, my friends, is the state of the Moto Z madness in 2017. Bottom here, 5 millimeter Moto Z from last year. Second from the bottom is the Moto Z2 Play that just came out, 6 millimeter. 7 millimeter is the gold one you see there. And then I think 8 point something or maybe 9 millimeter is the Moto Z Force from last year. I figure this would be interesting to you guys, so you're welcome. Stay tuned for more. As I said, I'm going to unbox some new Moto mods and compare them to the older Moto mods. And we're going to see a little bit more of the Z2 Play in that video. Stay tuned for more. Please thumbs up, thumbs down if you hate me. That's fine. I hate you back. Subscribe, of course. Tell your friends. And remember, do not forget my podcast. MobileTechPodcast.com. Every week we talk about phones and mobile devices at length with some of the best people in the industry. Tune in, subscribe. MobileTechPodcast.com. All right, guys. Cheers.